Welcome to Boys in the Hood TV. Today we're tapping into the streets of Sacramento, and we're gonna be looking at the internal war with the Oak Park Bloods. Now, the Oak Park Bloods are a predominantly African-American street gang from South Sacramento. Now, they formed back in the 80s when a member from 45 Bix Pyru from Panoma migrated to North Cal during the crack epidemic. Now, Oak Park, also known as the P, are broken up into different sets, with one of their largest sets being 4th Avenue, also known as Fab. Now, as the years went on, more cliques would emerge from Oak Park: Shooter Gang, Red Paint, BOE, Mirror Gang, HGM, and others. Now, the Oak Park Bloods will be at war with rival gangs like Del Paso High Bloods, Garden Crips, North Highland Gangster Crips, G-Mob, High Valley, and many others. Now, in the early 90s, 4 Oak Park Bloods will be arrested and charged with felony gang terrorism after moving onto the 2500 block of 53rd Street. Now, in this short year, from 1989 to 1990, these Oak Park Bloods would terrorize this neighborhood and families in it. One neighbor would tell police that she was afraid to leave her house due to the Oak Park Bloods. And it's also alleged that one of the members threatened to kidnap a little girl who was riding her bike. Now, also in that same year, 1990, we would see one of the first Oak Park Bloods internal beef kick off. 18-year-old Oak Park member Vinnie Metcalf would loan another Oak Park Blood by the name of Sean Duncan his mother's car, which was a 1979 Chrysler New Yorker. Now, when it was time to return the car, Sean Duncan would refuse to return it. So Vinnie would make it his mission to go over to Duncan's house, break the window, get in the car and hotwire it and take it back to his mother's house. Now, Duncan would be pissed off, so he would get other members of Oak Park and they would drive to Vinnie's mother's house to confront Vinnie. Now, Vinnie and Duncan would get into an argument that would lead to a fight, and at some point in time during this fight, Vinnie would grab a sawed-off shotgun and shoot Duncan right in the face, killing him right in the front yard. Now, after the shooting, Vinnie would flee the scene, but days later, he would turn himself into the police department. Now, because the group of men came to Vinnie's mother's house where Vinnie stayed at, Vinnie would not be charged with murder nor any form of manslaughter because it was considered self-defense, but he would be charged with being in possession of a firearm. Now, the violence will continue throughout the 90s, and at one point in time, the Oak Park Bloods will be labeled a terrorist group by authorities after 12 Bloods would beat up and jump a newspaper photographer, rendering him unconscious. Now, by the time the 2000s hit, a newer generation of the Oak Park Bloods would emerge, and the war with their rivals would continue. But also at the same time, new internal beef would arise within Oak Park, with newer cliques also emerging within Oak Park. And by 2020, a full-fledged war would break out between Oak Park Blood cliques like Red Paint and BOE. Now in 2020, popular Sacramento rapper Mozzie, his bodyguard will be shot and killed for snatching Shooter Gang Coney's chain during a studio session.
This one right here, I don't know, it fell off the neck. I put it on, know the price tag on that.
Now, it's believed that members of Red Paint were responsible for his murder. Now, after this murder, Mozzie would confront Red Paint Mava over the incident, and both men would exchange words. Now, after this fallout, this would cause a split between the Oak Park Bloods, where Red Paint and Zilla would side with Shooter Gang, while Fab and BOE would side with Mozzie. Now, the following year, Red Paint Mava will be shot and killed at a party allegedly by BOE Moolah twins. Now, it's alleged that the Moolah twins had issues with Red Paint Mava long before the murder of Mozzie's bodyguard. But after the death of Red Paint Mava, they will be back and forth disses on songs over the next few years. Now, in 2024, BOE member named 6-0 will be hanging out with his cousin from 5th Street shooting a music video. Now, 5th Street is located in CV Circle. Now, they beef with a lot of different people like South Click, Zilla, Thunder Click, DPH, and Zoo. Now, 5th Street is cool with Mozzie Gang. Obviously, BOE 6-0 have relatives in this area. Now, days later, after shooting this music video on November 3rd, 2024, 6-0, while sitting in his car, he will be shot and killed.
A man was shot and killed in a car in Upperland Park neighborhood of Sacramento this afternoon. Police said that this happened just before 1:30 in the area of Kit Carson Street and Revere Street. The man was pronounced dead at the scene.
Victim was located by officers in that vehicle, and they removed him from that vehicle to provide life-saving measures.
Now, weeks later in December, A man named Chesvon Page, he will be arrested on suspicion on the murder of BOE 60. Now, he was never officially charged, so not long after being arrested, he would be released. But the following year, in August of 2025, 19-year-old Page will be officially booked on murder charges. But the murder of BOE 60 would lead to diss songs and disrespect coming from BOE rivals.
Yeah, and I heard it was somebody else that shot the gun, bro. It wasn't you, bro.
It's dumbass Oak Park, dumbass Zilla shit.
Okay. So what that 6 stand for? 60? That 6 for stand for 60, nigga?
Huh?
You heard me, nigga?
Nah.
Yeah, all right, nigga. I'm just making sure.
One of the men being Uziano Zilla would take shots at BOE 60, and in return, he would be shot 12 times, but he would survive his injuries. Now, after Uziano was shot, a Red Paint member named Red Paint Blow would die from drug use. And after his death, of course, members of BOE will come out dissing him on social media. Retaliation will be on the mind. A man named Buzz Down Rail, who's a Red Paint affiliate, he was real close with Red Paint Blow. Now, weeks later, BOE 60 family members would hold a memorial service. And during this service, Buzz Down Rail will be caught trying to slide through, and he will be shot and killed on sight.
This morning, we've learned the identity of the man who was killed in a shooting that happened in Sacramento Wednesday night. The Sacramento County coroner has identified the victims now as 21-year-old Daryl Curry from Sacramento. He was shot at 8:30 Wednesday night on CV Circle in the Upperland Park area. There were nearly 100 shell casings at the scene. 2 apartments were hit. Sacramento police at this point not releasing any information about suspects.
And after his death, Fifth Street members would take to Instagram and laugh about the situation. Now, going into 2025, the war would continue on. 18-year-old BOE affiliate ABKJ was on house arrest for gun possession charges. Now, at the time, Jay stayed in an apartment in Carmichael, California, along with Lil John John, whose cousin was BOE 60. Now, what ABKJ and Lil John John didn't know was that somehow members of Red Paint had got the drop on where they lived at. On August 31st, at around 3 a.m., Red Paint Zay, along with his homie named Mr., would arrive outside the Lance apartment complex. Both men armed would make their way to the front door. Now inside, ABKJ was in his bedroom and John John was sitting in the living room. Moments later, Zay and Mr. would bust into the front door and hold John John at gunpoint. Now authorities believe at this point they were attempting to rob him, but John John would start fighting back, and in the midst of a scuffle, John John would shoot Zay, but Zay would end up returning fire and killing John John. But only seconds later, ABKJ would come out the bedroom and start blasting. He would shoot and kill both Red Paint Zay and Mr. Now, not long after, ABKJ would take to Instagram and reference about the murders. He would go on to say 1, 2 on the same skit. Head tap, asking where his face went. Splash for 6-0, John Forever, Paint Splasher. Now, it wouldn't be until around 7 a.m. when police would get a phone call from family members to do a wellness check.
And we begin with this. 3 people found shot and killed inside the same apartment unit in Sacramento County. The sheriff's office saying they're investigating exactly what led up to this shooting, but right now they say they're still working on finding out what time that shooting even happened.
We received a call from a loved one who believed that their family member was inside the residence, potentially, that they hadn't heard from.
That 911 call coming in around 7 a.m. Family told CBS 13 off camera 2 of the victims were together and dropped off at the complex around 3 in the morning. But investigators are still trying to find out exactly what time the shooting happened.
One of the victims shot one of the robbers shot him, but then our 4th person actually shot both of the robbers dead after his assuming associate or friend had died from that botched robbery.
The one surviving person, Jalen Davis, was arrested.
4th suspect, who obviously did survive the shooting, was ultimately taken into custody because he is on probation, was on ankle monitor, like I mentioned before, not legally allowed to have that firearm in the first place. So he was taken into custody for those charges, but like I mentioned, the circumstances in this did not quite meet the elements to charge murder.
The sheriff's office says as of right now, Davis likely won't face a very serious punishment.
Pretty low-level charges. There are weapons possession charges, a probation violation. So it would almost be the same as if he were pulled over in a car with a concealed weapon.
Now, the sheriff's office says those charges could be upgraded if further review of the case shows new evidence for murder or
justifiable homicide charges, but for now, it is just that weapons violation.
I would like to thank everybody for tapping in, and I'll see y'all next time.